At What Do You Believe, we are dedicated to creating content that will help people navigate this difficult time during COVID-19. And today is no exception. I'm really excited to welcome to the show Erika Weber. She's a licensed acupuncturist and trained in traditional Chinese medicine. Welcome, Erika.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for having
so
me.
much. Thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Thank you. I always begin the conversation asking the question, what do you believe?
Well, I actually have to say it was a bit tricky during this time period because for me, I always believe that people have a responsibility for their own health. But during this time when we're in a pandemic where people are getting hit left and right from this invisible disease and virus, I think the most important thing that I truly resonates inside my heart is the ability to connect with people and the thread that permeates throughout the whole world. And I think we've seen that in all the different countries coming together, coming out and clapping at certain times. The human spirit is just such a beautiful thing. And I think that will outlast any virus, any pandemic. So that's truly what I believe.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. It's true. It seeing everyone at 7 and hearing it, and I think Cuomo also every night he put it on CNN. Chris Cuomo, doesn't he always? Yeah. I mean, I've stopped kind of watching the TV because it's stressing me out too much. But it's beautiful, and people are coming together and helping each other and helping elderly neighbors and bringing them food, and it's fantastic. So speaking of your approach to medicine, you're a trained practitioner in Chinese medicine, and I'm just curious. Could you just explain a bit about how Chinese medicine works?
Sure. So Chinese medicine uses the whole system, and if you think about what that means, if you go to a Western doctor like a cardiologist, he studies the heart. You go to the pulmonologist, he studies the lungs. In Chinese medicine, we look at and Chinese medicine is the whole system. It's like a car. If something is like missing, or something gets backed up, then the whole car starts to break down, and that's what our bodies kind of represent in Chinese medicine. So with the COVID-19, this is something that is representing in the lungs. You have a lot of pulmonary issues. And we don't only look at the lungs, we also look at other systems that can be causing a lot of phlegm, a lot of what we call dampness. So COVID-19, acupuncturists here have been getting a lot of information from acupuncturists and doctors over in China and how they are handling it, how they are treating this. And it's considered a damp toxic illness. So when you think of dampness, you think of something that's very heavy, wet, moisture in the body, something that's not easily resolved. So within Chinese medicine, we look at the systems of what makes that dampness starts in the gut. So we look at the diet. We look at what are damp foods causing foods. So that's the dairy, that's the caffeine. There's also
So it's inflammation, right? I mean, when you say dampness, you mean inflammation? I'm just
damp,
yeah.
dampness and inflammation dampness can cause inflammation. When you think of inflammation, it's more hot.
Okay.
Related. Like if you see an inflamed joint, it might be hot and red. Dampness is kind of a heaviness, phlegm, or any kind of thick gunk that you get in the sinuses. But that all is connected and related to the gut.
I see. Okay. So when you're saying that practitioners there and here have been in conversations, and what are they doing there actually that are, what are they telling you from their experiences over there? What's that conversation?
Well, it's interesting because, as you know, people are here saying, well, I have these symptoms. And then other people are saying, I have these symptoms. So Chinese medicine is, we don't treat anything or anyone the same. So, and every illness has a stage. So at the beginning, the first 3 days you feel something, they will give a specific herbal formula and do specific acupuncture for that first stage. Then it transforms into another stage, and you diagnose that by diagnostic tools within Chinese medicine, which is looking at the tongue. They take your pulse, they palpate the abdomen. So they ask a lot of questions about the phlegm, where is it going in the body, and they come up with a pattern of disharmony, and that's how they treat with herbs and acupuncture in which systems it's going to as it goes throughout the body. So it's really about how you diagnose it, at what stage of the illness you're at too. So if somebody's coming in with fevers, some COVID patients don't have the fever, they just have other symptoms. So you really have to just really hone in on your diagnostic tools as a practitioner here in order to be able to help somebody navigate.
Wow. So would you feel comfortable kind of going through those stages and what is being prescribed at each moment?
Sure. I know that they were giving a lot of astragalus root as an immune builder.
Yes.
And for myself, I take a lot of astragalus just regularly before COVID started, just to keep my immune system strong. And now you can't even get astragalus out there. Amazon doesn't carry it. It's very hard to get that. And then
Is
as a
there, I'm sorry. I was just curious, is there something else that's a, you know, that could be compared to it or not really?
Well, there are other herbs, but we want to diagnose the person
I
because,
see. Yeah.
I'm different than somebody who is a different type of person. I have issues that go on that are different than other people have issues. So yeah, and that's how you have to diagnose too, because if you're getting a lot of phlegm, um, for instance, I'll talk about the phlegm and the dampness. The
Yes.
dietary is so important because the dairy, raw foods are terrible. Raw salads, cold juices, cold drinks, ice drinks, any of those sugars, refined grains, that's all going to be something that's dampening, fried foods. So you have to really stay away from that. What I'm telling people is to take, like in the morning, a warm glass of water, hot water, drink hot water through the day to kind of thin out that mucus that's being produced. Also, there's certain techniques that you can do. I saw a nurse do this on Facebook, and I'm like, this is like totally Chinese medicine. So you take your hands and like you cup,
Yes, I saw that.
yeah, and you just cup the back, and it kind of starts to reduce the
Yes.
phlegm and the
Mhm.
thickness of the phlegm. All these old wives' tales actually do
Wait,
come
just
back.
Yeah, that's so just so we could tell people who are listening into the podcast and not seeing us. So what Erica is doing is she's tapping very lightly at the back of the back of the person's back, up and down, because the lungs are located really in the back,
Yeah,
right? So and so you're kind of lightly, like, not lightly.
you're like going for it. So
Oh, you're going for it. Oh, so you're really okay.
you can make like a little cup like this. It's not like you're slapping them on the back, but like a little cup, and just
Okay.
you want to move that. You
You
want
want to move the phlegm.
Yeah,
Okay.
and pat it on the back, which
As
is
I clear my throat. Yeah, okay. Right. Amazing. So that's great. And what else? What other techniques?
um,
For even food.
for the food. I mean, what you really want to focus on are warm cooked foods. You want
Warm
to
thing, cooked
bone
food.
broth,
Yeah.
any vegetables that are cooked, scallions, onions, garlic, squash, asparagus, celery, turnips, mushrooms, all leafy greens, non-glutinous grains, uh, cooked. You could do cooked fruits too. I'm not a big fan of cooked fruits, but you can do that too.
Right. Yeah,
um,
food,
but
food.
just, and this is all goes back to eating for the seasons. Up north it's very cold and damp. So you don't want to eat damp foods when it's damp out. So
Right.
you want to kind of cut that back. And you can process damp foods. People do process damp foods. But if you're feeling like, oh, my chest is a little tight and I'm producing some more phlegm, it's a very good idea just to stay away from that. Lukewarm water, warm water during the day.
Amazing. What if it starts to get what do you do? Well, also, what if you have a high fever? I mean, usually it's starve a fever. Is that true? I mean,
Yeah,
what's
I mean, I always suggest, Western medicine is there for a reason, and I really respect Western medicine. Take your Tylenols, try to get as much fluid as you can, um,
right?
and And there are points that I do that you actually bleed points for fevers, you bleed points for sore throats, because meridians, like if you have a meridian that comes all the way up to the throat, you have a meridian that comes to the nose. So if you have a sore throat, you follow the last point on the meridian and you actually bleed the point. Acupuncture came from like bloodletting. So you take a little pin, you prick it, and you get some of that heat inflammation from the channel, and it
Right.
removes that.
Wow. But
Yeah.
you don't suggest people do that at home, do you?
No. These are Chinese medicine techniques that you could do,
That's
but you can't even leave your house right now.
right, right,
So
right.
I would suggest just sticking with, get your 8 hours of sleep, rest, rest, rest. And that includes no phone, no TV, no
Yeah.
Netflix. Power down is like power down in.
Power down the mind, power down the body. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear that completely. So what about vitamin C? I mean, everyone's like loading up. I couldn't even order it on Amazon. I mean, what's the story with that? What do you
I mean, there were some talk about that's how they were treating it over in Italy, and I
right?
found the lipospheric vitamin C. It's a way. I have a little pack right here, the lipospheric.
Lipospheric. Oh, okay. Spheric. Lipospheric
Yeah,
vitamin C.
it's a gel, and
Okay.
it actually just is a way.
There's my
Oh,
mom.
like, is that mine?
I love it. I'm
This
calling.
it's delivered by nanospheres, which is
Hmm.
gel that it doesn't like dissolve. It goes right on a cellular level, so it gets just the delivery method is a lot better. But
Okay.
vitamin C is amazing. I've heard to take a lot of vitamin C for high fevers, things like that as well.
Okay.
But any medical related, you really need to talk to your doctor about that. You can't overdose on vitamin C. All you'll do is get loose stools. So if you start having diarrhea from having too much of it, but I would just suggest 1,000 milligrams a day.
1,000 a day. So about the going back to the astragalus, you said you couldn't find it, but you don't. Are you selling it on your website at all, or no?
I had 2 bottles in the office and I took them for myself.
Right,
And then
okay.
I tried to order it and
You
the
just can't
distributor.
find it. So, I mean, if anyone can find it out there, I mean, is there a method to taking it? So, isn't there something, is there a method to taking it? So, if you start to feel sick, you shouldn't, I mean, is there anything that's
Yeah,
like
I mean, this is only you take it when you are healthy.
when you're healthy?
Astragalus root, which I didn't bring it, it's in the kitchen. It looks like a piece of wood. And so Chinese herbs usually mimic what they look like. So if you think about how strong a piece of wood is, that's what it does to your immune system. However,
Right.
when you're sick and you take the astragalus, it might have the tendency to strengthen the sickness.
The sickness. Wow. Okay. Good to know. Good
Just,
to know.
yeah, you want
You
to.
don't want to do that. No. Um, I'm curious because everyone's doing these cocktail hours and everyone's getting together on Zoom and having cocktail parties. So clearly, people probably drinking a bit more than they normally would because of what's going on, and they need an anxiety reliever. What type of alcohol should they avoid, and what is better for your body, if there is anything at all?
Well, if somebody's feeling is a cold type in Chinese medicine, we like to, thinner and, very cold, cold hands and feet. If it's cold out, we like to say that the darker alcohols are better. Not
Mm,
necessarily red wine, but a whiskey or a bourbon or a brandy, and not a lot, just,
right.
maybe a
Just a
little
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 bit.
spot of it. And that's actually very warming. And at night, if you can't sleep, and that it might be nice to like add with some tea and honey and lemon.
Like a
Um,
hot toddy.
exactly, exactly.
Ah, I'm gonna have that tonight. You just inspired me. Thank you. So your story is fascinating. You were a dancer, right? So you were, because I was a dancer as well. So I mean, of course, I love you regardless, but I love that you were a dancer too. So tell me about your story and how you got into and what inspired you to find your new passion as a acupuncturist.
Well, like dancing is very hard on the body.
Yes.
And I had torn my MCL before an audition. And I was like, oh, I'm taking 6 Advil and I'm going to this audition. And I got the job. It was Guys and Dolls, a national tour. And we started in 2 weeks, and I like hobbled out of there. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do this gig? So I went to PT like once or twice, and it was okay. But then I went to acupuncture, and I can't even tell you, when I got off the table, I was able to move. I was able to go down the stairs, and it really stuck in my mind. It resonated over the years of, wow, this is pretty fantastic, amazing medicine. So fast forward years later, when I was really broken and in spirit and in body, I decided to switch professions.
Wow.
And then studied acupuncture. So, but which was amazing because then I had the whole Broadway community to treat now, and athletes, dancers, and just the whole mass of people, which this medicine is so good for, especially New Yorkers.
Amazing. Oh, I I love that story. Sorry, as I clear my throat, it's of course that's
Yeah, toddy.
So in terms of feeling anxious, is there anything that, can we take an herb? Would you suggest an herb for that? Is there, what's
You
in
know,
terms of the anxiety and all of that, what do you suggest?
within Chinese medicine, there is 8 branches of what health really looks like, and of self-care. And, one piece of that is acupuncture. You have Chinese medicine, herbs. Sorry, my dog is freaking out here. Um, but then you have the spiritual side, and that's the whole meditation. And, with we used to think that medicine was outside of us, but we know self-care really starts within. And so meditation is very important to calm the mind and to be able to calm ourselves, to look outside. Like you said, I'm going to have a glass of wine. That's going to calm me. I'm going to take something. But really it should start from within. And like I started the Oprah and Deepak's 21-day challenge. And, it's just, you can do anything that's just, you're going to calm down, sit down. I read somewhere the other day, it says, don't forget to close out the tabs in your mind. Like, because you know how you close out the tabs on your phone? Like when you're sitting there, sometimes you have all these tabs open, and it's really important to close them down, because, well, I'll segue into this, when you overthink, it will actually cause dampness in the body. Dampness in the brain, because it's so connected to the stomach and the brain. And so overthinking, you start to accumulate, a lot of dampness, thought starts, you really have to pare down in the mind. There are some things you can take. I like homeopathic things, like nerve tonic is one. It's by Highlands. There's Rescue Remedy, Bach flower is really great. Just one drop. You don't need a lot of drops. One drop is good. Put it in 8 ounces of water. Getting off of social media, the news is, I don't watch the news anymore either. Once in a while, I'll just, pop in and listen for a little bit, but it's good to get off of all that and just focus on you at this time, because when are we ever going to have this opportunity to really start to connect?
Absolutely. It's true. It's true. You're you're absolutely right. I'm a meditator, and I do it every morning, and of course try to do it in the afternoon as well. But I feel like when I'm really tapped in, I feel like I'm meditating the entire day, because it's like a mantra-based meditation. So it's always sort of, you could just call upon it and just it just immediately calms me down. But yeah, I find that tremendously helpful, and creating an intention every day. I've been saying this over and over again, so I'm probably like a broken record at this point, but it's just having a routine and setting an intention really helps. And it's more for me at night. If I'm anxious, it's more of an evening type of anxiety, where it's like I'm about to go to sleep and I'm alone, and it's sort of like the walls are like, that sort of thing, and your mind is racing. But I try to just, again, just like sit quietly and get my mind off of things, and listen to a podcast or watch something uplifting. before bedtime. You know, I know you're not supposed to be on your phone at that time, but sometimes it's comforting, you know, if you're by yourself. But yeah, it's a hard thing to navigate right now. It has to, you know, whatever works for you, right? I mean,
I mean, I find that at night too, because I'm alone here. And when I get ready for bed, there's just like this little pang of like inside of me, like, oh, and actually I got like really panicky the other night and I called a friend and that was fine. He calmed me down. Um, but at night, so this is an interesting thing within Chinese medicine. So our spirit, which they call the Shen, is like birds that fly around us during the daytime. And at night, they settle in and go to sleep in the heart. But if the heart is filled with intentions, then there's nowhere for nowhere for the birds to go. So to get rid of intentions when you go to sleep, just to let everything go, then your birds and the Shen and your spirit can rest at night, because you really shouldn't be intentional when you're going to sleep. Everything needs to really kind of calm and relax. So even thinking about just calming your heart and just calming your whole spirit self, I think is a good thing to do at night sometimes. And you just reminded me, so thank you. I need to start doing that.
thank you for telling us. That's a beautiful, you know, suggestion. I love that. I love that. Thank you. I've just enjoyed this so much. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with me and giving advice. I have a very weird photo behind me, so I'm gonna let this weird painting behind me. Um, but I'm excited for our live today, where it's going to be great. That's at 2, and you know, you're beautiful. Thank you so much for
And
all
thank
this.
you for offering all of this to everyone. This is very informative and we need this right now in our time period, especially now. And you're such a beautiful spirit. So thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you so much. I really appreciate
All
that.
right.
Thank you. See you very soon. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.